Adding and subtracting polynomials by Ms. Gutierrez. Example number 1, adding polynomials. I have two polynomials here. My first polynomial is 3x squared minus 4x plus 8, and there's another polynomial that's being added onto it, 2x minus 7x squared minus 5. So, the first thing I do is make sure that my polynomial is written in descending order based on the exponent of x. So if you notice, 3x squared minus 4x plus 8 was already written in descending order, so I can just rewrite that. Then I have to rewrite my second polynomial right below that, making sure that it's also in descending order. So the first thing I write is negative 7x squared. Notice how negative 7x squared is written right below 3x squared. The reason we have it right below it is because we can combine those two terms. Next, we have 2x written right below negative 4x. And last but not least, we have negative 5 right below number 8. Then I combine them. So when I combine 3x squared and negative 7x squared, my answer is negative 4x squared. When I combine negative 4x plus 2, it's negative 2x. And positive 8 minus 5 gives me 3. So my answer is negative 4x squared minus 2x plus 3. Example number 2, adding polynomials. I have two polynomials again. In parentheses, 5x squared minus 3x plus 4, close parentheses, plus parentheses 6x minus 3x squared minus 3. So once again, I have to rewrite my polynomials so the exponents of x are in descending order. So the first thing I have to do is write 5x squared minus 3x plus 4. Right below that, I'm putting my second polynomial. And if I'm writing it in descending order, the first term I write is negative 3x squared, then negative 6x, and last but not least, negative 3. My next step is to combine my terms. I combine 5x squared minus 3x squared, and it gives me 2x squared. Then when I combine negative 3x minus 6x, it gives me negative 9x, and 4 minus 3 gives me 1. So my answer is 2x squared minus 9x plus 1. Example number 3, subtracting polynomials. Once again, I have two polynomials. The reason I know that I have two different polynomials is each of them is in its own set of parentheses, and there is a subtraction sign between them. So once again, I have to make sure that I write my polynomials in descending order. The variable we're working with now is the variable n, and so if I'm putting them in descending order, that means that I have to arrange them starting with 13n cubed, then 5n squared, plus 5n. Since I'm subtracting, I need to make sure that when I rewrite my second polynomial, I have to have that minus sign. So I go ahead and write minus, and then in parentheses, in descending order again, negative 4n cubed under 13n cubed plus 7n written right below 5n. Since I have to distribute a negative and every time I see it to the left of the parentheses, I'm going to go ahead and rewrite my first part of my problem. So that first polynomial is rewritten, and then I'm going to distribute that negative to everything inside of the parentheses. So negative times the negative 4n cubed will give me 4n cubed, and negative times the positive 7n will give me a negative 7n. I can now combine my terms. 13n cubed plus 4n cubed will give me 17n cubed. With 5n squared, since there's nothing written below it, I can just rewrite 5n squared, plus I have that 5n and that negative 7n. When I combine them, 5n minus 7n will give me negative 2n. Example number 4, subtracting polynomials. Two polynomials again, and there's that minus sign or subtraction sign right between those two sets of parentheses. So I have to rewrite my first set of parentheses so it's in descending order. And just by looking at it, it's already written for me. So all I have to do is rewrite that first term, or first polynomial, so it's 4x cubed minus 3x squared plus 6x minus 4. Then, since I'm subtracting, I need to make sure I write that minus sign first, and then everything else inside that parentheses in descending order. So I write negative parentheses negative 2x cubed right below 4x cubed plus x squared below that negative 3x squared, and my minus 2 goes right below that negative 4. But once again, I have that minus sign right in front of that parentheses, or to the left of my parentheses. So I'm going to have to distribute it. So I now need to rewrite my top portion all over again. And as I distribute my negative to everything inside of the parentheses, the signs are going to switch. So negative and a negative will give me a positive 2x cubed. Negative and a positive gives me a negative x squared. And a negative times a negative 2 gives me a positive 2. So I can now combine my like terms. 4x cubed plus 2x cubed gives me 6x cubed. Negative 3x squared minus x squared will give me negative 4x squared. I have 6x just by itself, so I bring down that 6x, and negative 4 plus 2, which will give me negative 2. So my answer here is 6x cubed minus 4x squared plus 6x minus 2.